Have you ever felt like school just wasn't made for you? Like no matter how hard you tried, something about the whole system just didn't click? Maybe you sat in class staring at the clock, wondering why you were forced to memorize facts you'd never use. Maybe you felt frustrated watching others succeed effortlessly, while you struggled to care about subjects that felt meaningless. Maybe you even started to believe the labels: lazy, distracted, underachiever. But what if the problem was never you? What if the reason school felt like a prison was because your mind was never meant to be caged? The world has conditioned us to believe that intelligence is measured by grades, test scores, and the ability to follow instructions. But real intelligence doesn't fit neatly into multiple-choice questions or standardized exams. Some of the greatest minds in history, geniuses, visionaries, revolutionaries, struggled in school, not because they weren't smart, but because they were learning in a way the system could never understand. Traditional education rewards obedience, memorization, and repetition. It values students who can absorb information, regurgitate it on command, and move through the system without questioning it. But chosen ones are different. Their minds don't work in straight lines. They don't just accept knowledge, they explore it, deconstruct it, question it. They see patterns where others see facts. They connect ideas that seem unrelated. They crave depth, meaning, and understanding that goes beyond what any classroom can provide. From an early age, chosen ones often sense that something about the education system feels off. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel a deep disconnect between the way they naturally learn and the way they are expected to learn. While other students thrive in structured environments, chosen ones struggle. They find it hard to focus on dry, repetitive lessons that lack real-world application. They resist forced learning because their minds are wired for discovery, not memorization. When they're interested in something, they become completely immersed, researching, experimenting, absorbing knowledge at an incredible speed. But when a subject feels dull or irrelevant, their energy disappears. Teachers call it lack of discipline. Society calls it underachievement. But in reality, it's a sign that their minds are built for something far greater than the rigid framework of a classroom. Imagine trying to fit a limitless, expansive mind into a tiny box. That's what school tries to do to chosen ones. It forces them to conform to a system that wasn't designed for creative thinkers, deep feelers, and natural seekers of truth. They are expected to sit still, listen passively, and accept information without question. But chosen ones learn through experience. They understand through intuition. They grow through questioning, experimenting, and making connections that others miss. And because of this, they often struggle with traditional methods of learning. Not because they're incapable, but because their intelligence isn't meant to be contained within the walls of a classroom. If you've ever felt like school was suffocating your potential, like your true abilities were being ignored, like your intelligence wasn't being measured the right way, then you're not alone. The truth is, you were never meant to succeed in a system designed for conformity. You were meant to rise beyond it. From the moment we step into a classroom, we're taught one thing above all else: follow the rules, accept what you're told, and don't ask too many questions. But what if the very thing that made school difficult for you was actually your greatest strength? What if the reason you struggled wasn't because you weren't smart enough, but because you refused to blindly accept everything placed in front of you? Most people go through school without ever questioning the information they're given. They memorize facts, repeat them on tests, and move on. They don't stop to wonder who wrote the textbooks, who decided what knowledge was important, or whether what they were being taught was even true. They accept it all at face value. But chosen ones are different. They don't just absorb information, they challenge it. They have an insatiable curiosity, an instinct that tells them to dig deeper, to uncover the truth, to question everything. From an early age, chosen ones notice things others don't. They see contradictions in history books. They recognize inconsistencies in what they're being taught. They wonder why some facts are emphasized, while others are ignored. While their classmates obediently write down answers, they're sitting there thinking, but what if this isn't the whole story? And that mindset, that refusal to accept things at surface level, often puts them at odds with teachers and authority figures. Instead of being praised for their curiosity, they are labeled as disruptive, rebellious, or difficult. Instead of being encouraged to seek the truth, they are told to stop asking so many questions. Society doesn't like people who challenge the system, and school is no different. It's designed to create workers, not thinkers. It rewards those who comply and punishes those who resist. Imagine being a child with a mind that naturally seeks truth, only to be constantly shut down and told to stop questioning. Imagine being ridiculed for challenging outdated ideas, or dismissed for noticing flaws in the system. Over time, many chosen ones begin to feel like there's something wrong with them. They wonder why they can't just be like everyone else, why they can't simply memorize, repeat, and move on. But deep down, they know the truth. They were never meant to fit into a system built on blind acceptance. They were meant to see beyond it. And that ability, that relentless need to question, is not a weakness. It is a gift. This deep questioning extends far beyond the classroom. While others accept societal norms without a second thought, chosen ones continue to dissect and analyze everything around them. They ask why people follow certain traditions, why certain beliefs are considered normal, and who benefits from the way things are structured. They refuse to simply follow the path laid out for them, because they instinctively know that the real answers, the deeper truths, lie beyond what they are being told. And this can make life difficult in a world that thrives on keeping people complacent. It can lead to feelings of isolation, frustration, and even self-doubt. But in reality, it is proof that they are seeing the world as it truly is, rather than how they are told it should be. If you've ever been called difficult, if you've ever been made to feel like your curiosity was a problem, if you've ever been dismissed simply for asking why, then understand this. Your ability to question is one of the greatest strengths you have. It is what separates leaders from followers, free thinkers from the programmed masses, visionaries from the ordinary. The world has been shaped by those who refuse to accept things as they were. Every major breakthrough, every revolution, every shift in human consciousness happened because someone dared to ask questions that no one else would. You were never meant to blindly follow. You were meant to break the mold, challenge the narrative, and seek the truth. The system fears people like you because you see through the illusion. And that is exactly why you will rise beyond it. While most students were absorbed in their textbooks, memorizing historical dates, scientific formulas, and mathematical equations, chosen ones felt an undeniable pull towards something far greater, something beyond the limitations of the physical world. From a young age, they sensed that reality was more than what could be seen, touched, or measured. They weren't just interested in what was in front of them. They were drawn to what was hidden, what was unseen, what was beyond human comprehension. While their classmates were fascinated by the rules of grammar and the laws of physics, they were questioning the nature of existence itself. Who are we? Why are we here? What is the true meaning of life? These were the questions that kept them up at night, the questions that no school curriculum could ever truly answer. Traditional education felt empty to them because it only scratched the surface of reality. It focused on facts and figures, on memorization and repetition, but never on wisdom, never on true understanding. Chosen ones craved something deeper. They weren't satisfied with surface-level knowledge. They wanted to understand the forces that shape the universe, the mysteries of the soul, the hidden truths that society ignores. They found themselves drawn to ancient wisdom, to spirituality, to the profound teachings that had been passed down through the ages, but were never mentioned in a classroom. While others saw the world as a collection of physical objects and logical systems, chosen ones felt the energy behind it all. They sensed that everything was connected, that there was a deeper order to the chaos, an invisible thread weaving together all of existence. Because of this, school often felt like a prison. While their minds were soaring through galaxies of thought, contemplating higher dimensions, pondering the mysteries of consciousness, they were being forced to focus on things that felt painfully insignificant. They sat in classrooms being taught the same recycled information that had been passed down for generations, knowing deep inside that there was so much more to life than what they were being told. The idea of spending years learning how to analyze literature, solve equations, and memorize historical events felt meaningless when they knew that true knowledge, the kind that transforms and elevates the soul, was out there waiting for them, beyond the walls of the school system. This disconnect made it difficult for them to engage with traditional education. When something didn't align with their soul's deeper knowing, they couldn't force themselves to care about it. They weren't interested in simply regurgitating facts to get a good grade. They weren't motivated by gold stars, report cards, or standardized tests. They wanted knowledge that expanded their consciousness, knowledge that could help them understand their purpose, knowledge that made them feel alive. And because this kind of wisdom wasn't offered in school, they often turned elsewhere. They found themselves reading spiritual texts, exploring meditation, studying metaphysics, or diving into esoteric teachings long before their peers even considered such ideas. While others were content with what they were given, chosen ones were searching for what had been hidden. They felt an unshakable urge to break free from the limitations of conventional thinking and dive into the unknown. They sought answers in philosophy, in religion, in ancient cultures, in mystical traditions, in the teachings of sages and enlightened beings. They felt an undeniable connection to something greater, something beyond the physical world, something that couldn't be quantified or proven with scientific instruments. And this made them stand out. It made them different. It made them seem like dreamers, like wanderers, like misfits in a world obsessed with logic and structure. But this difference was not a weakness. It was a calling. It was a sign that they were meant for more than what the system could offer them. While others were being conditioned to fit into society's expectations, chosen ones were preparing for a much greater journey, one that required them to think beyond textbooks and lesson plans, one that would lead them toward higher wisdom and spiritual awakening. They may have struggled in school, but only because their minds were tuned to a frequency that academia could never reach. While others were learning how to survive in the system, chosen ones were awakening to their true purpose. And that is why they were never meant to fit in. They were meant to rise above. Chosen ones have always felt a deep and unshakable connection to something beyond the material world. Even as children, they sensed that there was more to life than what could be seen, touched, or explained through logic alone. They could feel the energy in a room shift before anyone spoke. They could sense when someone was hiding their true emotions, even if they smiled and pretended everything was fine. They noticed patterns in life that others dismissed as coincidences, and they had an unexplainable knowing about things before they happened. This heightened awareness set them apart. While others moved through life accepting only what was in front of them, chosen ones were attuned to the subtle, the unseen, the unspoken. They could walk into a space and instantly feel the energy it carried, whether it was heavy with sadness, charged with tension, or flowing with peace. They didn't need words to understand what was happening beneath the surface. They simply knew. This deep sensitivity wasn't just limited to people and places. It extended to the entire universe. They felt a profound connection to nature, to the stars, to the rhythm of existence itself. A simple walk in the forest could feel like a spiritual experience. Watching the ocean waves crash against the shore could stir something ancient within them, something words could never fully capture. They felt the universe speaking to them through synchronicities, through meaningful coincidences, through dreams that carried hidden messages, through numbers and symbols that seemed to appear at exactly the right moment. Others might call it luck, chance, or imagination, but chosen ones knew better. They understood that there was an invisible thread connecting everything, an intricate design far beyond what the human mind could fully comprehend. This heightened awareness, however, came with challenges. Because they could feel things so deeply, the energy of the world often weighed heavily on them. Crowded places could feel overwhelming, not because of the noise or the movement, but because of the sheer amount of energy swirling around them. They could step into a room full of people and suddenly feel drained, not realizing they were absorbing the emotions of everyone around them. They weren't just hearing words in conversations, they were feeling the intentions behind them. A simple interaction could leave them unsettled, even if nothing was said outright, because they could pick up on the hidden motives, the underlying emotions, the truth beneath the mask. This sensitivity also made them natural healers, whether they realized it or not. People were drawn to them, opening up about their deepest fears, their struggles, their pain, even without knowing why. Strangers would tell them their life stories within minutes of meeting. Friends and family members would come to them for advice, seeking comfort and wisdom. Chosen ones carried an energy that made others feel safe, understood, and accepted. But while they gave so much to others, they often found themselves feeling depleted. They carried burdens that weren't theirs to carry. They felt emotions that didn't belong to them. They absorbed the pain of the world without even realizing it, leaving them exhausted, drained, and sometimes even lost in emotions that weren't truly theirs. Many chosen ones go through life feeling misunderstood because of this deep sensitivity. They are told they are too emotional, too sensitive, or that they overthink things. But what others fail to understand is that this sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a gift. It allows them to see beyond the surface, to connect with the unseen forces that shape reality, to understand people in ways that words never could. While society values logic, facts, and physical proof, chosen ones operate on intuition, feeling, and knowing. They don't just rely on what they are told, they rely on what they feel in their soul. And more often than not, their intuition proves to be right. But this path is not easy. There are times when chosen ones feel completely alone, as if no one truly understands them. They struggle to find people who see the world the way they do, people who feel as deeply, who understand energy, who recognize the interconnectedness of all things. They may go through phases of isolation, withdrawing from the world because the weight of it all feels too heavy to bear. They may find themselves questioning why they are the way they are, wondering if something is wrong with them, wondering why they can't simply exist in the world without feeling everything so intensely. But in truth, they were never meant to fit into the world as it is. They were meant to help change it. Their sensitivity is a sign of their purpose. Their ability to feel deeply is a tool, a gift meant to guide them toward their true calling. They are here to bring light into the darkness, to heal, to awaken, to remind others of the deeper truths that have been forgotten. They are here to bridge the seen and the unseen, to connect the material and the spiritual, to remind the world that there is more to existence than what meets the eye. As chosen ones learn to embrace their sensitivity rather than fight against it, they begin to understand their true power. They learn how to protect their energy, how to set boundaries, how to differentiate between their own emotions and those they have absorbed from others. They discover ways to ground themselves, to recharge, to channel their gifts in ways that uplift rather than drain them. They realize that their deep connection to the unseen is not a curse, but a calling. And as they step fully into this awareness, they awaken to their true potential, stepping into the role they were always meant to play in this world. Chosen ones walk a path that is anything but ordinary. From the moment they enter this world, they are different. They don't just move through life blindly accepting what they are told. They question everything. They feel things others ignore. They see patterns where others see randomness. They know deep in their soul that they are meant for something greater, even if they don't fully understand what that means. But this knowing is both a gift and a burden, because to walk the path of a chosen one is to walk through fire. It is to be tested, broken, and rebuilt over and over again. It is to endure hardship that others would crumble beneath. It is to be shaped by pain, refined by struggle, and forged into something unbreakable. This journey is not for the weak. It demands everything. Chosen ones do not have the luxury of an easy life. From childhood, they face trials that seem unfair, struggles that appear relentless. While others grow up in comfort, shielded from the weight of the world, chosen ones are thrown into the storm. They experience loss, betrayal, isolation. They suffer through wounds that cut deeper than flesh, wounds that shape their very soul. And yet, no matter how many times they fall, they rise. Because that is what they were born to do. Their pain is not random. Their struggles are not meaningless. Every hardship, every obstacle, every moment of suffering is part of a greater plan. These trials are not meant to break them. They are meant to awaken them. Because only through pain does true power emerge. Only by being stripped of everything do chosen ones discover what they are truly made of. Comfort does not create warriors. Ease does not birth leaders. Strength is forged in the fire of adversity. And chosen ones are thrown into that fire again and again, until they emerge transformed, no longer bound by fear, no longer controlled by doubt. They become unshakable, untouchable, unstoppable. They learn that everything they thought was working against them was actually working for them. The betrayals that shattered them taught them to trust only those who are truly meant to walk beside them. The losses that nearly destroyed them forced them to stand on their own. The loneliness that felt unbearable pushed them to seek answers beyond the physical world. And through it all, they awakened. This awakening is not sudden. It does not happen in a single moment, but in stages, each one bringing them closer to their true self. At first, there is resistance. They try to fit in, to be like everyone else, to ignore the voice inside them that tells them they are different. They suppress their gifts, dismiss their intuition, pretend they do not feel the pull of something greater. But the universe does not allow chosen ones to remain asleep for long. One by one, the illusions they have clung to begin to crumble. They see the world for what it truly is: the deception, the manipulation, the falsehoods disguised as truth. They can no longer turn a blind eye. They can no longer pretend to be something they are not. And once their eyes are open, there is no going back. This awakening is painful. It is isolating. It strips away everything that is not real, leaving chosen ones standing alone, raw, vulnerable, questioning everything they have ever known. They lose people. They outgrow relationships. They let go of beliefs they once held dear. And in this process of destruction, they find freedom. Because once they release what no longer serves them, they create space for something greater. They begin to step into their power, to trust their inner voice, to follow the path they were always meant to walk. They stop seeking validation from the world and start seeking truth. They no longer fear being different. They embrace it. They no longer apologize for their gifts. They use them. And as they step fully into their power, everything begins to shift. The challenges do not disappear, but chosen ones no longer see them as curses. They see them as lessons. They understand that every hardship is a test, a chance to prove their strength, a step closer to their destiny. They no longer fear the unknown, because they know they are guided. They no longer feel lost, because they have found their purpose. And though the road ahead is still difficult, they no longer walk it with hesitation. They walk it with certainty, with confidence. with the unshakable knowing that they were chosen for this. This is why chosen ones are different. This is why their lives are filled with struggle, why they are forced to endure more than most. Because they are being prepared. They are being shaped. They are being turned into something the world has never seen before. They are warriors, healers, leaders, visionaries. They are the ones who will bring light into the darkness, who will shift the energy of the world, who will awaken those still trapped in illusion. And when the time comes, when they are fully ready, they will step into their ultimate purpose, not as victims of their past, but as masters of their destiny. Chosen ones do not walk the path of the ordinary. Their journey is carved through trials that strip away illusion, forge resilience, and awaken a force within them that cannot be tamed. But this process is not gentle. It does not arrive in soft whispers or unfold with ease. It comes in storms, in fire, in relentless challenges that push them to the very edge of their endurance. And yet, no matter how brutal the trial, no matter how crushing the weight, they endure. Because they were never meant to break. They were meant to rise. From the very beginning, their lives are marked by a sense of isolation. They feel different, disconnected from the world around them, unable to relate to those who move through life without questioning, without searching, without feeling the pull of something more. They try to blend in, to silence the voice inside that tells them they were born for something greater. But the more they resist, the more the world pushes back. The universe will not allow them to stay asleep. So it sends them tests, challenges that shake the foundation of everything they thought they knew. They lose people. They experience betrayals that cut deep. They watch as everything they once relied on is stripped away. And in the depths of that suffering, something changes. They begin to see the truth. This awakening is not gentle. It is not a sudden revelation that fills them with peace. It is chaos. It is pain. It is the slow, agonizing realization that everything they once believed was an illusion. They see through the falsehoods, the conditioning, the lies that have kept the world asleep. They feel the weight of reality in a way others cannot comprehend. The suffering they have endured was never random. It was a teacher, a guide, a force designed to push them toward their true purpose. And as they awaken, as they shed the layers of who they were told to be, they step into the vast unknown of who they truly are. But this path is lonely. Not everyone will understand them. Not everyone will support them. People they once called friends will drift away. Family members will dismiss their journey. Society will try to pull them back into conformity, to convince them that their dreams are unrealistic, their visions impossible. But chosen ones are not meant to follow the path of the masses. They are meant to carve their own way, to walk alone if necessary, to embrace the solitude that comes with true transformation. And in that solitude, they discover a power they never knew they had. They begin to trust their intuition, to listen to the inner voice that has been guiding them all along. They stop seeking validation from the outside world and turn inward, finding strength in the very things that once made them feel different. The sensitivity they were told was a weakness becomes their greatest gift. The emotions they tried to suppress become the key to their healing. The pain they endured becomes the fuel that drives them forward. They realize they are no longer victims of their circumstances. They are warriors, shaped by fire, destined for something greater than they ever imagined. And as they embrace this truth, everything shifts. The obstacles that once seemed insurmountable become stepping stones. The fears that once held them back lose their power. They no longer cling to what is safe, to what is familiar. They take risks. They step boldly into the unknown. They chase their purpose with an unshakable determination, refusing to settle for anything less than the extraordinary. Because they were never meant for an ordinary life. They were never meant to fit into the mold that society created. They were meant to break it. This journey is not easy. It is not meant to be. But chosen ones do not seek ease. They do not run from struggle. They face it head-on, knowing that every challenge, every hardship, every moment of suffering is forging them into something unbreakable. They do not let fear control them. They do not let doubt dictate their choices. They move forward with unwavering faith, knowing that they are guided, knowing that they are protected, knowing that everything they have endured has been leading them to this moment. Because the world does not change on its own. It changes because of those who refuse to accept the way things are, who dare to dream of something greater, who have the courage to stand alone and speak the truth, even when no one else will. And that is the destiny of the chosen ones: to awaken, to rise, to transform not just themselves, but the world around them, to become the force that breaks the cycle, that shatters the illusion, that leads others out of the darkness and into the light. And when the time comes, when they have fully stepped into their power, they will look back on every hardship, every loss, every painful moment, and realize it was never meant to destroy them. It was meant to prepare them, because they were never just anyone. They were always chosen. Chosen ones do not simply awaken and step into their power. The journey does not end at realization. In fact, that is only the beginning. Awakening is merely the first threshold, the moment they begin to see the world for what it truly is. But knowledge alone is not enough. Understanding their purpose is not enough. The path ahead is one of relentless transformation, of refinement through fire, of facing every shadow that lingers within them and emerging not just stronger, but utterly reborn. There is a moment, inevitable, inescapable, where they are confronted with their greatest test. This is not an external battle, though the world may seem to rage against them. It is an internal one. It is a war waged within the deepest recesses of their own mind, heart, and soul. Because awakening does not mean they are free of fear. It does not mean they are free of doubt. If anything, the weight of their purpose makes the fear heavier, the doubt louder. The path ahead is uncertain, and the mind will fight against the unknown, clinging to old patterns, to the comfort of what once was. They will hear the whispers of their past self, the voice that tells them they are not ready, that they are not worthy, that they are not enough. The illusions they thought they had shattered will try to rebuild themselves. The conditioning of a lifetime does not disappear overnight. And it is here, in this space of hesitation, that many turn back. They retreat into the familiar, into the safety of who they used to be. They tell themselves they will step forward when they feel more ready, when the fear subsides, when the path is clearer. But that moment never comes. Because the truth is, there is no perfect time. There is no moment when all doubt vanishes. There is only the decision to move forward anyway. And for those who do, for those who refuse to be bound by fear, who refuse to let doubt decide their fate, the transformation that follows is unlike anything they have ever experienced. They begin to dismantle every false belief they have carried. Every wound they have buried rises to the surface, demanding to be healed. There is no running from it. There is no bypassing this stage. It is raw. It is painful. It is the breaking down of everything that is not truly them. And yet, with each layer they shed, with each illusion they release, something incredible happens. They begin to feel lighter, freer, more aligned with the force that has been guiding them all along. The voice of fear weakens, and in its place, a new voice rises. A voice that speaks not from doubt, but from truth. A voice that tells them they are ready, that they are capable, that they were never meant to stay small, to stay hidden, to live in the shadows of their own potential. This is where they begin to embody their power, not just in fleeting moments, but in every breath, every step, every choice they make. They no longer seek permission to be who they are. They no longer wait for approval. They understand that their power is not something they must earn. It has always been within them. And the more they trust it, the more the world around them shifts. They find themselves no longer drawn to what does not serve them. They let go of the people, the places, the habits that once kept them stagnant. They no longer force themselves to fit where they do not belong. They do not shrink themselves for the comfort of others. They do not allow their light to be dimmed. They stand fully in their truth, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is inconvenient, even when it means walking away from everything they once knew. And as they do, they become unstoppable. Not because they no longer face challenges, but because they no longer fear them. They understand that every obstacle is an initiation, a test designed to prepare them for the next level of their destiny. They meet resistance with resilience, setbacks with unwavering faith. They are no longer controlled by the limitations of the past. They move forward with a force that cannot be denied. And in doing so, they become an example, a beacon for others who are still trapped in the illusion, still searching for their own awakening. Because this journey is never just about them. The chosen ones do not rise for themselves alone. Their path, their struggle, their transformation, it is all part of something greater. They are meant to lead, to inspire, to remind others of their own power, to wake them from the sleep that has kept them bound. And the more they step into their role, the more they see the ripple effect of their presence. They see the way their courage sparks something in others. They see the way their truth gives others permission to embrace their own. This is the destiny of the chosen ones: to rise, to awaken, to break every chain that once held them back, to become the embodiment of everything they were always meant to be, to walk forward, not as who they once were, but as who they truly are: unstoppable, limitless, free.